Let's move on to the player ratings, starting off with Fraser Foster. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8, and I was really impressed with him. A lot of people were, coming into it, including myself, were like, why is Fraser Foster playing? We saw his performance at Coventry. It was nowhere near good enough. But look, I think he did everything right. Everything that came his way, I think he dealt with good quality. There was even one time which I was really impressed with. The cross came in and he just gobbles it out of the air with like one hand, a bit Pat Jennings-esque, as someone said on the watch along yesterday. But he made some good saves. Nothing got past him. Kept a clean sheet. So I'm going to give him his props.
Yeah, I think he did well. I think made some good saves. Definitely the big save was from the one-on-one from, I think it was from Lang, but he did hit it straight at him. I think the one save from the corner, which there was a header, I thought obviously it was a diving one-handed save, but I think you watch it back, I don't know if it should have been as difficult if it was for him to save it. I thought his passing out the back was okay. I thought it was sometimes a bit rushed and not great technique, but most of the time it was pretty accurate, so I don't have too much to complain about. There was one moment where he came out of his goal, running off his line, and actually did quite well because it prevented a chance from RZ. So I think by and large, good. Didn't cost us. I think did his job well. But yeah, I don't know. I still watch him and still a bit worried about him, to be honest, even after that performance.
Yeah, obviously you feel a lot more comfortable with Vicario in goal, but for what he is, I think he had a really good display last night. Let's move over to left back Destiny Udogie. 8s all round for Destiny, and I thought he had a super dominant game on that left hand side. Nothing got past him throughout the day. He was so physical, winning his duels, interceptions, blocks. I mean, everything. I thought from a defensive aspect, I thought he was near perfect last night. Going forward, maybe he could have got involved a little bit more, but still a really good display from Destiny. I was very impressed with him, and he was one of the ones that just kept his standards throughout that 90 minutes.
Yeah, and the stats, I think, speak for itself. If you want to get the stats up, or they've got
2 interceptions, 2 tackles, 6 out of his 7 duels won.
2 out of his 2 dribbles.
1 out of his 1 aerial duels. I mean, everything was absolutely top notch from him.
Yeah, I think defensively, fantastic. As you can see on his heat map, he actually didn't get into the final third too much. He was a lot playing in the middle and at the back, but I think he did his job exceptionally well. And I think Destiny's been playing well. Everyone looks back at, everyone takes that game against Brighton and they kind of extrapolated that for him having a poor season for some reason. And I don't know why a lot of people are getting on his back. I know maybe at times at the beginning he was struggling late in games after he came back from his injury. But I think since he's become near to fully match fit, apart from the Brighton game, I think he's been really great. And I think he's really getting back to his best. And I thought this was another example. Obviously, it does beg the question, played 90 minutes in this game. What do we do on Sunday? I'm pretty sure he will start, but maybe it's a case of, will there be a pre-planned sub with Spence or something like that? I guess we'll wait and see. But I thought he played really well, and I thought he had their right winger on lock.
Let's move on to Ben Davis. I think he got the captain's armband in the second half. 6s all round for Benny. I felt like there were a few scary moments in there from Davis while playing out the back where RZ sprang on us a little bit, but I thought for the most part he dealt with it pretty well. So yeah, a few scary moments, not the greatest display, but did well.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, I don't think he was particularly fantastic, to be honest. There was one moment which I think came from his mistake when he kind of was very weak in the challenge, allows Troy Parrott to kind of win a duel, and then Troy Parrott was able to play a through ball to Lang, which obviously created the one-on-one. So I do think that chance was from a Ben Davis error, which he should have done a lot better with. But having said that, I think in possession he was all right. I think he did okay overall. I just, he makes you nervous sometimes when he has to use his strength or his height, because those are the 2 things he lacks, I would say.
Yeah. Radu Dragusin up next. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. From purely a defensive standpoint, he was brilliant. The amount of chances that he snuffed out from AZ Alkmaar yesterday was to the highest degree, highest quality. But where I kind of marked him down a little bit was his on-the-ball display. I felt like he was just playing our midfield and our team into trouble quite a few times. And he just doesn't look totally comfortable when playing out the back and when he's on the ball.
Yeah, I think obviously we ask a lot of our centre-backs how they kind of operate on the ball. There's a big gap between them sometimes and some of the midfield players or attackers. And Dragushin's definitely still getting used to that. And obviously he got caught against Karabag. He actually got caught in this game. Was it the first half? He got caught, and I think it was the second half, and Ben Tinkle had to bail him out. on that occasion as well. So clearly there are still some moments where he's just struggling to adapt to on the ball. I also think technically his passing sometimes a bit bobbly, sometimes it's behind the player and it's not crisp. And you know, when you see Romero passing the ball in between the lines and it sets us up on attacks, Dragun hasn't got that level yet, albeit still young, still got a lot to learn. Doesn't mean he can't get there, but at the moment he's not quite there yet. So on the ball, not great. I did think in this game he was a lot better with his proactive defending. I actually thought he bullied Parrott for a lot of that game, and whenever RZ went long and whenever they were aiming for Parrott, he just gobbled that up. He was just winning those aerial duels night and day. And I actually thought in those moments, in those proactive moments when he was like winning those duels, he was actually winning it in a sense of not just to win it to clear out the pitch, he was winning it and winning possession back, either take it down or getting it to a teammate. So that was really, really good, and that was kind of a lot more like how Romero does that role off the ball anyway. Much more proactive and much more about getting ahead of the attacker, and that's a big role because the more you do that and the more you just win possession back, that just helps you dominate the whole game more. And I think that was really good. So I'm going to give him props for that because I thought his proactive defending was a lot better on this occasion.
Archie Gray up next. Sixes around for Archie, playing at right back. I thought he got given a pretty torrid time for quite a lot of it from Poku down their left-hand side, and that's where the majority of their threats were coming from throughout the game. And Archie, I think he struggled to deal with it at times, but I think for the most part, apart from those few moments where they did get in on the left-hand side or our right-hand side, I think he dealt with things well, but it wasn't as silky on the ball than it has been for him maybe in the other performances that we've seen from him.
Yeah, I think he was inverting a lot. I mean, if you look at his heat map, you can see he was, from what I can see, he was pretty much playing as a midfielder, pretty much when you look at the heat map, because he's very rarely in that right back slot. Maybe because obviously we had a lot of the ball, but I think it wasn't his best game. I don't think he was as composed in possession as we've seen. I don't think it was that bad defensively. I think Poku was giving him a tough time, but look, I don't think he got absolutely roasted or anything. I don't think they created too much in terms of when they were trying to beat him on that side. I think Dragun and Bentancur were helping him out, but I think in general it was okay. I think in general he dealt with it fairly well. But yeah, there were some moments where Poku was looking very dangerous. But I think in general he was pretty decent.
Mm. Moving on to Lucas Burval. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. I thought he was brilliant. Best performance in the Spurs shirt so far. He was creative. Lovely passing ability on show, particularly that one for Timo Werner in the first half, where Timo has got to be doing better in that situation. And also off the ball, I thought he had a lot of bite in the challenge. He was getting around the pitch and really imposing himself. So I was really impressed with Burval yesterday.
Yeah, I was really happy with him. I thought really great display, and it shows both sides of his game. It shows what quality he's got on the ball with that beautiful through ball to Timo Werner. Obviously, a good awareness with the winning of the penalty, helping out Madison with that run in behind. And also, as you say, has that a bit of aggression as well, has that a bit of bite, which you're going to need if you're playing central midfield, especially if you're playing next to Madison, you know. I know Madison does work hard, but you're going to need that little bit of aggression to compensate, because you know you got your next to an attacking midfielder instead of a defensive midfielder. I think he has that, so really promising display. Obviously, he looked like he was going off a bit injured, but Ange at the end of the game was a bit of cramp, so thankfully nothing to worry about, hopefully. And I was really, really happy with him, and I've been really happy with him ever since he's come. I think he's getting better and better, and I think we've got a real talent here.
James Maddison up next. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 9. Our man the match on the day, I thought he was brilliant, led by example, captain's ability, captain's performance. Off the ball, I thought he was brilliant, winning his duels time and time again. The amount of times he won the ball back in the middle of the park, I thought was exceptional. And not only that, on the ball, when it looked like he had no right to advance up the pitch, he was doing it on a consistent basis. I mean, how many times did he wriggle past when he had 2 or 3 men around him? I lost count of how many times it actually was. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. He was involved in, at times it looked like in the first half, he was doing it all on his own. His attacking play, where he was the one that was really grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck. So And obviously he had the penalty situation as well, where he showed really good leadership ability, where, stamped his authority on Richarlison, saying, I'm the penalty taker, I'm the captain, I'm going to take this penalty. But then he also realised that Richarlison, coming back from injury in a space where he's been many a time before James Maddison, he gave the penalty to Richarlison, where Richarlison obviously duly delivered and put it in the back of the net. So I thought it was a good all-round display from James Maddison yesterday.
Yeah, I think he really stepped up, and I think especially in the first half, he was the only one looking to play with that intensity, looking to play with that little bit of sharpness and spark, which I think some of the other players maybe were lacking yesterday. It looked like whenever he got on the ball, he was looking to make something happen. He didn't want to allow possession to pass him by, and when he saw space, he drove into it, and the RZ players just couldn't handle him. The way he was wriggling out of those tight situations was incredible to watch. It was like a magician, just like with a box of tricks at moments to wriggle out of those situations, and RZ just kept fouling him. They couldn't handle it. He completed 4 of his 7 dribbles, just showed how many times he was being effective in those situations. And yeah, obviously the whole penalty situation, first of all, the penalty comes about from his run from deep. Brilliant run, which he was doing all game. A couple of times he was getting in behind and causing them problems. Not only was he getting the ball to feet, but was also making those runs, clever runs in behind, and getting joy out of it with being found as well. And so his run set up Burval to win the penalty. And as you say, brilliant piece of leadership to let Richarlison take the penalty and get his goal scoring run underway. Sorry, his goal scoring this season underway, because it's very important for him to get that first goal. And yeah, I thought he led by example, and I thought he was a fantastic. I'll give him man of the match as well. I thought it was a fantastic display from him.
Rodrigo Bentancur up next. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. I was quite frustrated with him in the first half. I thought he could be doing more, particularly with one of the more senior players on the pitch. But I felt like he did that in the second half, and he really stepped up for the team, became one of our most important players in that second half. He was dynamic. He was aggressive in the middle of the park, and he did lack that aggression in the first half. But he really did step up for the team for the second half, where I really marked him up on. So he was winning his duels, getting himself about the pitch. If you look at his heat map, just shows you how dominating he actually was in that middle of the park. And yeah, I mean, if he puts in the second half display for the 90 minutes, he probably would have got a 9 from me. But yeah, poor-ish in the first half, but then massively important for us in the second.
Yeah, and I think second half as well, he had to bail out Gray, and he had to bail out Dragun on a couple of occasions. So if it wasn't for him, it could have been a lot worse. And I absolutely agree. I thought second half he just upped his aggression a bit. He was just getting involved in a few more duels, making sure that when we're pressing, he was reading the game a lot better. I thought first half was just maybe a bit passive. I thought on the ball he was decent, but I thought off the ball, a bit passive, wasn't offering that much protection, but you just saw he upped that aggression in the second half, he upped that intensity, and we were much better for it. So good display overall from Rodrigo. Yeah,
there was a few times where he got a bit cooked in the first half as well.
Got nutmegged a couple of times.
Nutmegged twice, but definitely put it right in the second half, that's for sure. Mikey Moore, the star boy, up next. 8s all round for Mikey. Unbelievable performance from the 17-year-old yesterday. Was a bit out of sorts in the first half, where he wasn't getting himself too involved, but still showed a few moments of quality with some good crossing in the box. Probably should have scored in the first 5 minutes of the game, where Werner puts it on a plate for him, and he just nods the header wide. But the second half, he moved over to the left-hand side when Werner got taken off, and he just dominated that side. It was unbelievable to see from a 17-year-old kid. The amount of take-ons that he did, they just couldn't handle him. That was the reality. They just could not handle him out on that left-hand side, and he was just showing quality time and time again. And from a 17-year-old kid to do that on the European stage, I think is a joy to behold, to watch. And it was a bit of an eye-opening moment for Mikey Moore, for opposition fans maybe to sit up and take notice of what this guy can actually produce. So I'm so excited to see what he can produce moving forward now. I've been excited for him for a while, and it just confirms in my mind what a special talent we have on our hands.
Yeah, and the fact as well that first half to be fair, he wasn't getting so much joy. He wasn't looking that confident. Like, I don't remember too many dribble attempts he had in that first half. He looked like he was always trying to check back. One thing I actually thought he was doing quite well in the first half, to be fair to him, was he would pick the ball up on the right hand side, and if he didn't dribble, he would look for that little pass on the underlap into space in the penalty area. And he actually got a bit of joy there, and that was probably one of the areas we were getting beyond the RZ backline. It was those little passes from Mikey Moore into those little pockets of space, just on the right hand side of the touchline there. So that was pretty good, but I think in general struggled to really impact the game properly. Obviously had that massive chance where Werner crossed it to the back post and his header was skewed wide. He'll be very disappointed he didn't get that on target, at least, because it was a free header at the back post on a plate, so it wasn't great on there. But given that he didn't have the best of first halves, he didn't let it affect him, did he? He didn't get his head down. He didn't sulk and he wasn't like, it's not my day today, because he moved over to the left in the second half, and said after the game he looks a lot more comfortable on the left, and you can see why, because maybe it's because the different angles he has and the different types of runs he makes. Instead of always going on the outside, he can weave in and out in different directions. And when he moved over to the left hand side, he was pretty much unplayable. They didn't know how to deal with him. He was just creating chance after chance, dribble after dribble. He had that one moment where he dribbled past 3 players and then plays a outside of the boot through ball to Brennan. He then has one moment where he dribbled past one player, cuts back on his right foot this time, and just curls it to the back post, and it's inches away from Richarlison and inches away from Burval. Beautiful dribble and pass as well. Another moment where this time he goes to the byline using his left foot across the face to goal, and just no one there to tap it home. He then cuts inside and has a shot. I mean, it led to their fullback being hauled off because he couldn't handle him. It wasn't a surprise, to be honest. As soon as they brought a fresher fullback on, then all of a sudden it died down a bit for Mikey Moore, because they got a fullback on who had fresh legs. But in those first 20 minutes, he was just unplayable. He was absolutely delightful to watch. It was so exciting, and you can hear, because you didn't have the headphones on, but every time they passed out to him, you could hear the crowd getting up, the crowd getting excited. It was almost like they were passing out wide to David Gindler or something. It was just absolutely mad, and that's what, not only were the crowd reacting like that, he was playing like that at the time. So phenomenal performance.
With the attributes that this guy has, I mean, this is exactly what Ange wants from a winger, isn't it?
Oh, yeah,
exactly.
That's perfect, Ange Winger. The kind of stuff he was doing yesterday is exactly... And, like, what I loved about it was he was doing different things, going to the byline, cutting inside, dribbling
Such
past
variation,
a variation of chance creation. And, like, it's like you didn't know which way to stop him. He seems to be two-footed as well. Left foot, he was creating a chance. Right foot, creating a chance. Both ways he can go, it seems. So, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Richarlison up next. 6s all round for Rishi. First start in a while for Richarlison, and I felt like it showed, to be honest, in his game. He's struggled to get into the game for the most part when he was on the pitch, I think, for an hour. Did get his goal, obviously, which was great, which was a present from James Maddison, giving him the penalty in that situation. But I felt for the most part he pretty much struggled to get into the game, to be honest.
Yeah, I think sometimes a striker in an Ange system can go that way, where they're just not the focal point. It's all about them facilitating some of the other players, and it's not uncommon for strikers in the Ange system to have some of the least touches on the pitch. So what doesn't surprise me too much, he wasn't that involved. The only thing is, when he was getting involved, he did look quite rusty. I think it's fair to say his touch wasn't quite there. When he got into positions to shoot, they were a bit weak. They did lack a bit of conviction. But there were some positive moments. Obviously, he was still working hard, and he did do some really good high pressing to set up Timo Werner for one of his chances in the first half, and obviously stuck his penalty away pretty confidently down the middle, waited for the keeper to move, and just stuck it. The keeper went the wrong way, and stuck it into the net. So that's good. Hopefully that goal can really get his confidence flowing, and when he gets back on the pitch, hopefully he can be a bit sharper. But you could probably tell it was his first game in a while, because he just looked a bit rusty, to be honest.
Yeah. And the last of the starting 11, Timo Werner. Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 5. But he did actually. He only lasted 45 minutes. But I did think he did a couple of nice things. What you know about Timo Werner is he's got the pace, and he can arrive in the really good threatening areas on the pitch for Spurs. But it's what happens happens after that, and it's just not good enough. We need better quality to really polish teams off, because he goes one-on-one with the keeper with a lovely through ball from Lucas Burval, and it was pretty much just like a pass back in, like straight into, like, the keeper's not going to have an easier shot to deal with for the rest of his career. Literally. So it's really poor. He did put a cross on the money for Mikey Moore in the first couple of minutes, and I actually thought he was the one out of the front three getting the most involved in that first half. And I was happy to see him go off because we just needed more quality. But yeah, I mean, he's just such a frustrating player to watch. And we're just saying that every time we're watching him play.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, those two chances was symptomatic of what we can clearly see what was going on with him at the moment. That's a man who's very low on confidence, and he's struggling to have self-belief when he gets in those positions that he's going to stick it in the back of the net. I don't know whether when he gets in those positions, it's almost as if like he's already seeing the headlines and already seeing the miscompilations run through his mind, because he just hits them so weakly. It's almost as if he's not focused on putting it in the net. He's focused on just getting on target or something, because at the moment his finishing is just so weak and it's so feeble. I did think he was giving them trouble, to be fair, and as you say, he put a brilliant ball for Mikey Moore, could have had an assist on the day, so it wasn't all bad. But unfortunately, you know, at the moment, you know, we are creating chances for him. That's one of the frustrating things. He's getting opportunities, he's making good runs, to be fair to him, but we are putting chances on a plate for him, and unfortunately they're going to waste because every time he keeps missing. And I was of the opinion if you just keep giving the chances, you know, eventually they'll start to click for him. But I'm just starting to doubt that at the moment, because it's just not happening for him. And with every miss, the problem for him at the moment is with each miss he has, you see his confidence drop even more, and it's just like a cycle. Each miss he has, it drops more, and then you want to give him another chance so that you can rectify it, and then he just keeps missing these chances, and it's not helping anyone. Ange said after the game, you know, he wants to put the arm around his shoulder, but at the end of the day, like, we just need players to be making an impact in those phases of the game, and he's struggling to do that. So as much as I feel for him, you know, when you got Mikey Moore making an impact like he was yesterday, it's hard to justify him being in the team.
Yeah, you can really see from his body language and the way he kind of reacts to missing these chances, he's clearly feeling sorry for himself. And I think that's why Ange took him off yesterday. What I liken it to, I think it's very similar to when we had Roberto Soldado. Like, Soldado kept missing these chances, but he kept arriving in the good areas. And Soldado, what would Soldado do? He would do everything great in the build-up play, and everything was really good from his actual gameplay. But when he got into those money-making moments, into those goal chances, he would just scuff his lines every time. And I think that's what Werner's doing. And you also saw a Soldado back in those days feeling sorry for himself. And I feel like there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the substitutes. Brennan Johnson came on at half-time for Timo Werner. 6 all round for Brennan. It was a bit of an up and down from Brennan, to be honest. I felt like he was getting in good positions and good threatening situations, but he just fluffed his lines a couple of times, Brennan, maybe delaying the shot, which delayed it a bit too much, where the chance was kind of gone. But what he did do, I felt like he gave us really good balance in the forward line when we had Brennan on the right side, Mikey Moore, and then Richarlison up top, and Dom Solanke a bit later. But wasn't the best performance from Brennan, let's say that.
Yeah, he had a couple of really good openings, which he should have done better with. The one which Mikey Moore set him up for, which he delayed the shot way too long and it was blocked. There was also a moment where he was played through on goal. I think it was from Decky, and he had Richarlison to his left, and he had a lot of time in the box to maybe even line up a shot if he wanted, and he goes early for Richarlison, but the keeper just reads it and intercepts it, even though it was kind of a 2-on-1. So, I mean, if that was Werner in that position, we're probably giving him pelters, so,
yeah,
you know, probably have to criticise him. I did think he looked a bit more confident, even in those positions, though, than Werner, even if he lacked a bit of composure. I thought he made a bit of a difference on the right-hand side, even though he didn't quite have the end product, but I still think he did okay. But yeah, those couple of big openings he should have done better with, so yeah, he gets marked down for it.
Dom Solanke coming on with 25 minutes to go. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. He came on and just added a bit more than what Richarlison was showing in the game. And I think he had about 2 key passes on the day. And what I saw with Dom Solanke, he was just involved in the nice patterns of play and the build-up play that we were showing in the latter stages of the game. Obviously, none of them led to a goal, but we did have a couple of chances, and I felt like he was in the thick of the action.
Yeah, well, I think what epitomised his cameo was that moment in the corner where he's holding the ball. He then like just bullies his way past the defender and then creates a chance for Dejan Kulusevski, who shot, I think, when just wide or it was saved from the keeper. And I think that's the difference between Solanke. That's what I love about Solanke. I feel like with Richarlison, like when he takes a bad touch or he he gets himself into a 50-50 duel and he comes out second best, it's almost like when Richarlison loses a duel, like that duel is over. But I think it's different with Solanke. When he gets beaten to the ball, that duel ain't over because he'll keep going at you, he'll keep snapping at you. He's relentless, and it's like if you're going to win that ball off him, you're going to have to win it off him. Even if you get the ball, you still haven't got it off him because he can come back at you and he can bully you even then. I feel like it's different with Richarlison. Like once you've won the ball off him, like that duel is over and you've won the ball off him.
He just adds so much more than Richie, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's just maybe I'm. Maybe it's the optimistic guy in me thinking this, but maybe Rishi can look at what Solanke does and learn a lot of him and maybe he can become a better player for it. Because in a way, Rishi last season, didn't have anything to compare it to with because he had Son there. You didn't really have someone who showed him what amazing hold-up play can look like. But now you've got Solanke, who is like elite at that. You can clearly see when it gets to his chest, he can trap the ball. When it comes into feet, that first touch is close to him. It doesn't get away from him like it does with Richie. He battles for those duels. And maybe if Solanke can get Richarlison up to speed and get two strikers on the same wavelength, it'll be great. But yeah, Solanke, I thought, had a decent cameo, set up a chance, and looked good.
Yeah, the narrative when we signed Solanke from a lot of people were like, yeah, we've got a good number 9 coming in, but the levels between him and Richarlison are fairly similar. There's not too much difference in terms of quality-wise. I mean, how wrong was everyone? Because I felt like he's a complete new level above.
Yeah, I think in front of goal, I think there's a point there. I don't think there's actually a massive difference in front of goal between Richarlison and Solanke, and I think we've seen that so far. But I think where the difference comes is their overall gameplay. It's night and day. Like, Solanke is one of the best I've seen, to be honest, in the Premier League so far this season in that overall play. Not ever, all right? I'm not going over. In the Premier League this season, he's one of the best I've seen when it comes to that overall hold-up play. Like, I can't think of too many players who are as effective as him. Whereas Richarlison, on his day, he can be decent, but like on his day, like his best hold-up play is probably as good as for what I've seen when Solanke's having a bad day kind of thing. So that's just the difference.
Yeah. Dejan Kulusevski came on again with about 15 minutes to go. 6s all round for Decky. I felt like he came on, added something. He wasn't involved too much, but when he was involved, he showed some signs of quality, had a chance on goal that the keeper was equal to. But nice short cameo from Decky, not too much in it.
Yeah, I think he just helped see out the game. I think he showed his quality, was hang on to the ball really effectively. Yeah, don't have too much to say. Probably could have done better with his goal, with his shot, because there was a couple of options to pass it to, and decided to take on his left foot instead, which I think probably turned out to be the wrong option. But I thought it was a decent cameo from him.
And last but not least, Pape Souare, 6s all round. And Souare and Decky, they came on, didn't they, when AZ were probably having their best moment in the game. And what these guys did, they came on and just gave us that bit more legs in midfield and helped stem the tide and help us bring the momentum back in our favour. So, I mean, there wasn't too much on there from on the ball from Pape, but I think off the ball, he provided a few legs for us in the midfield. So that was helpful for us. Yeah,
I think he provided legs. I think he actually did some really good defensive work when he came on and provided some really good running and, eats up the ground so good, earning free kicks and just making sure that RZ, weren't able to get a foothold back in the game. So good stuff.
And Ange Postecoglou, Sim gives him an 8, I gave him a 7. Trusting in the youth with Mikey Moore, Lucas Burval and Archie Gray and reaping the benefits for it, making 9 changes in the game. Yes, it was not our most fluid display and our most attacking display of the season, but we got the job done, and that was the main thing. 3 points, 100% in the Europa League, where in the last 2 games we've heavily changed the team. And you've got players, and he's helping the kind of senior players keep that motivation in this competition when the team is massively changed, which is something to be said, because a lot of managers have come in and not been able to do that. So Ange Postecoglou's managing the squad really well, getting over the line in games. I think 7 wins in our last 8 games. The form is really starting to show for Tottenham Hotspur. Brilliant management from Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, as you say, 9 changes, but 3 wins out of 3, another clean sheet in the Europa League as well. And the fact that we're getting wins even when we're starting with 3 teenagers and we're making 9 changes is very, very impressive. I think he's managing the squad well. He's doing well to make these changes and get wins because we're keeping players fresh for the Premier League as well, and that's also a very, very important thing to do. So I think he's managing the squad really effectively, and wasn't the best performance, as we said. We've seen better performances from Spurs, but we're playing against a good team. It's not, you can never take for granted that you're just going to win these games. And we got over the line, and we got over the line fairly comfortably. So fair play to Ange.
All right, so that is the player rating.